Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have with us Bryan Platt. He heads up Jackson County Right to Life, and this is a big week in the Right to Life movement. This is coming up Friday is the actual 43rd anniversary, but the commemoration of that will be coming up Thursday. And Bryan, boy, a lot to talk to you about, but first of all, the event.
Okay, so the event will be this Thursday evening, 7 o'clock at First Baptist Church on Crater Lake Avenue in Medford. There's a lot of reasons that we're having it in the church setting, which we'll discuss later, but just for now, the information is 7 p.m. Thursday evening, rain or shine. I guess we don't have to worry about rain or shine,
no.
Although I hear that there's going to be a windstorm that day, according to the prognosticators, so we're going to be there anyhow. So we'd love to see you there, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Okay, well, that's coming up Thursday, First Baptist Church in Medford at 7 o'clock. The actual date is Friday, but boy, between 43 years this has been going on, and unbelievable. Now, was it true that nationwide abortions are down, but in the state of Oregon they're up a little bit?
Well, okay, yes, nationwide, actually abortions are down. I mean, if we take it from the peak years, which were the early 2000s, abortions are way down. Now let's define our terms, abortion being surgical. Abortions, okay? So, yeah, they're down under 1 million now. I've heard differing numbers, and the numbers lag because the CDC is the one that puts them out in their government agency, so they're usually several years behind what the actuality is. But I've heard down as low as 700,000, 800,000, you know, from 1.6 million. So, I mean, potentially you could say surgical abortions have been cut in half. Oregon, we reached our peak also in the early 2000s, and we were in the 14,000 range statewide for a year, and now we're down around 9,000. So a substantial drop in surgical abortions. The irony of that is that yours and my tax money continues to go towards paying for these abortions. Even though the number is down, the net effect of that is you and I are paying for more as a percentage of the number of abortions. About 1 of every 2 abortions in the state of Oregon now, Perry, we pay for. You know, so babies are still dying. The state of Oregon continues to spend money. Jeff Jimerson, the chief petitioner of the petition that we're going to be talking about, he came up with some information from the state, and it's staggering if you think of it in the big scope of things. $20 million, again, of our tax money, yours and mine, spent over 12 years to kill 45,000 babies. $20 million, 45,000 babies, and we have nothing that we can do about it. We have no say in that matter whatsoever.
All right, I could take off on that, but let's go down here. Let's stay on track.
Well, so let's start with we have one of the most fun things that we do every year as Jackson County Right to Life is our contest for the kids. And it has 3 different forms. It has a poster contest, it has a written essay contest, and it has an oratory contest, which is the heavy hitters, the juniors and the seniors in high school. And holy moly, they are profound. This is that time of year because it all is preceding our Oregon Right to Life State Convention, which is this year is April 9th up at the Holiday Inn Express up there on Airport Row in Portland. Okay, so if you have a child that you would like to get involved in just a very simple, at the younger levels at least, pro-life activity and start planting those seeds. I mean, this is what to me it's all about, is let's plant the seeds of the pro-life message in these kids when they're young. And they're pro-lifers for life because it's so, you know, a child can see it. You know, we adults, we can't. It's like a friend of mine that says, ask a kid what a roof is, he goes like this. If you ask an architect what a roof is, he goes like this. And that's where the trouble is. Okay, so here we have these young children. Well, it's a baby.
Right.
How many times have we been at the Jackson County Fair and we have our fetal models laid out and a little child comes over and picks it up and says, baby. They don't need a textbook to explain to them, you know, that it's a such and such and a such and such. It's a baby. So let's get those kids started in this. So so we have let's see what we got here. We got posters from K through 12. We have essays from 5th through 12. And then we have the oratory, which is juniors and seniors only. And if folks will go to jacksoncountyprolife.org, that's our website, jacksoncountyprolife, no hyphen or anything like that, .org. The contest information is there. My wife is managing the essays and the posters, and Dale Saar, one of our chapter members, is managing the oratory. So we would love to see your kids get involved at whatever level. Again, simple is good at this young age. Simple is really good. But those high schoolers, there's nothing simple about what they write. We read those in our chapter, and we're like, hello?
Yeah, really stunning.
It is. They have such a completely different perspective, and they can verbalize it so eloquently. It is stunning. And then the winners, okay, from our county competition end up going up to the deal in Portland on the 9th of April and compete against all the other county chapters for bragging rights for first place. The oratory contest winner gets an all expense paid trip to wherever, I don't know where it is, for the National Right to Life Convention, compete nationally against the other orators.
Wow.
And it's a pretty neat thing. Yeah.
We've had them on the air before. We've had them as guests. This is terrific. All right, so anyway, young children, K through 12 posters, young children 5th grade through 12th grade can get involved in essays, and then the oratory, writing a speech and delivering at high school juniors and seniors. Go to jacksoncountyprolife.org. All right, the big issue here is, there's a lot. The whole thing is a big issue, but the big one for the state of Oregon is we're coming at it again with this initiative petition to stop your tax dollars from paying for abortions in the state of Oregon. Give us an update.
Okay, well, the good news is that the Attorney General's office has officially approved a ballot title. So, this is just a process. I mean, we've been here and done that before. Now there is a comment and appeal period, which goes until January 29th. And frankly, it's likely that our opponents will file appeals, which has the net effect of reducing the amount of time that we have to gather the signatures that we need. But it is as it is. I mean, we're just going to have to deal with whatever, hand we're dealt. So right now, for those of you who have signed the petition this last fall, it was around Thanksgiving, we were going around asking for signatures. You folks have signed, you're done. Okay, no more signature. Okay, but that doesn't mean when we finally get the petition signature sheets that you can't help us collect signatures. Okay. And because this is a constitutional amendment, a proposed constitutional amendment, the state of Oregon's constitution, we need 117,000 valid signatures. It's a bunch. It's a bunch. Dave Crow, Restore America, said that a Barnum poll showed that Oregon has over 700,000 evangelical Christians. 700,000 evangelical Christians, not counting other faiths that are pro-life. I mean, just the evangelical Christians. We only need 117,000 signatures, Perry. Why can't we get that out of the church?
I don't know.
The answer is we can.
Oh, we can.
We can. We must.
We must.
We must. Okay. You can, as a chief petitioner, you can choose when you file out all your forms with the state to say we are going to pay to have signature gatherers. And the conventional wisdom is that's how you get enough signatures, because you send these people out, pay them, I don't know what it is, $1 or $2, whatever it is, I really don't know. We don't have that money. We have the power of the Holy Spirit, and we have people that should be impassioned to be involved in the pro-life movement in Oregon, knowing that you and I every day are paying for somewhere around 8 or 10 babies to be murdered with our own money. That ought to be motivation enough for us.
Absolutely.
And this is a constitutional amendment. Theoretically, the legislature can't mess with it. So we need to get this done. And honestly, Perry, by the world's thinking, 3 efforts at a specific goal becomes problematic, because people will begin to say, well, I've signed this before, and it never went anywhere, and and this and that. On the other side of the coin, we have a much larger database. We have a lot of people that kind of have learned, it's kind of fun to go out and just dialogue with people, especially within the church body. Tons of conversations, very beneficial conversations, educating people. We need to get this done.
All right, I got to take a break here, but let me just say this as a little bit of a planting of a seed in your mind. Why don't you become the volunteer of your church to head up this petition drive? Go to your pastor, sit down, say, Pastor, here's what it's about. By the way, it's totally legal for churches to gather signatures on this. And tell your pastor that you'll be glad to have a little booth in the foyer between services or at every service and gather signatures.
One more thing I might add, Perry, and this is something that, again, us taxpayers don't really think much about until December 31st, which is tax consequences for what we've done this past year. Because Jeff's organization is a PAC, it's eligible for the political tax credit, which is way better than a deduction. I mean, you're going to spend $1,000, you're going to give it to Caesar, or if you sign up for this PAC, you're going to give Caesar $900, and if you're a married couple, you can give $100 directly to the benefit of this PAC. They need to raise money for this thing, and it can start right now. I mean, for the tax year 2016, you can donate money to this PAC, which is a tax credit that helps you at the end of the year. And the website is OregonLifeUnited.org. OregonLifeUnited.org. So help them out. Use your PAC money, your $50 for single, $100 for married couple, and give them a financial jump start. There's a lot of expenses related to a process like this.
All right, Oregon United for Life.
Oregon Life United.
Okay, I'm sorry, OregonLifeUnited.org. All right, let me take a break. We'll come right back with Bryan Platt.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Welcome back, and Bryan Platt's with us today. Coming up Thursday is a very important day in Jackson County. Now, over the weekend, it was in Josephine County, and perhaps if you're watching outside the Southern Oregon region, your own county is having an event. But this Friday is the 43rd anniversary date of Roe versus Wade. This Thursday, Jackson County will be commemorating this anniversary with a special service coming up at 7 o'clock. And they'll be using the facilities of the First Baptist Church here in Medford. But I just can't say enough about wherever you are listening or watching, find out what your Right to Life County organization is doing and get involved. 43 years, we got to stop this. The other thing that Bryan has brought to the table here is that we have another petition drive, initiative petition drive, to gather over 117,000?
117,000 valid signatures.
By when?
Well, the deadline for submittal is July 8th.
Okay.
Now we're in a tie-up period while there's an appropriate amount of time for people to respond to what the title is. Then if there's no appeal filed, we can begin gathering signatures immediately, but it's likely going to be March before we actually get the sheets and get going on this thing.
All right, so be thinking about this, and again, be talking to your church leadership as if maybe you could be the point person to gather signatures. But it's pretty simple. We've done this before through the churches throughout Oregon. We can do it again. But here's the number you need to kind of keep in your head. You as an Oregonian, me as an Oregonian, our tax dollars obtain between 8 and 10 babies a day to be killed through abortion. And what this initiative would do is amend the Oregon State Constitution to stop our tax dollars for being used for abortion. So it's a big deal. Let me just, before we get into the service, one little other comment for you to respond to. I'm stunned that the Congress, Republican-led House and Senate, funded the omnibus bill, which gave Planned Parenthood a year's funding. In the shadow of all of those videos, they funded it entirely, not partially, but entirely for a whole year, giving the president everything he wanted for the rest of his term. And then they turn around and say, well, then they wanted to file a bill that would stop funding of Obamacare and stop funding Planned Parenthood after they just totally funded. Now they come up with a bill to stop funding it, knowing that the president got everything he wants, so he's going to veto it. So it was politics at its worst. Your thoughts?
You're absolutely right. Franklin Graham, I thought, had a very eloquent response. He renounced his Republican partyship And I guess I'm not there because I believe in the Republican Party platform, both statewide and nationally. But it speaks to the fact that these politicians just still don't get it. As much as they profess to be pro-life, they turn around and they do this political shenanigan. It's all it was, knowing full well that the bill that was going to pass through the both House chambers was going to Obama to be vetoed. That the defunding bills were going to be vetoed. It was nothing but just a charade, as far as I'm concerned, and it's a low light, frankly, in my career, if you want to call it that, as a Republican. Absolutely a low point, and discouraged is an understatement. As far as, you know, from my perspective, I was very discouraged.
Very well said. And then, so we were unable to capitalize on those videos. I don't know if there's any more to surface, and I understand Planned Parenthood is going after the maker of these videos. So in some way, they were given everything that they want to carry on to turn around and punish the one who exposed them.
Well, you know, when I heard that Planned Parenthood was suing Deladian, I almost think that the Spirit has caused them to do that, because they're going right into the courtroom and giving David an opportunity to air the entire thing again in a court setting, basically in a public setting, which will essentially revitalize the videos and give him an opportunity maybe to expose more of the minutia that kind of got lost or glossed over with the glaring, you know, obscenity that these videos represented. So I almost think this is actually going to work in our favor, because there's going to be a jury. There's going to be a court hearing on this whole thing. And how it ends up coming out at the end, I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd say probably not so hot for David Deladian, but at the same time, getting these videos back in the forefront of people and giving him an opportunity. And he says on his website that there's more information that he's now going to be able to expose during the course of this court hearing. I'm guardedly optimistic that maybe it'll revitalize this thing again, but the nonsense that went on Capitol Hill for that is shameful.
Yeah, it is shameful.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us about Thursday evening.
Well, first of all, and this, you know, all these things are kind of interconnected. I spoke the other day at a church, and I had all these astonished looks with some more facts, you know, factoids that we talk about here kind of on a regular basis, but they're worth repeating. In the state of Oregon, by law, a minor child can receive reproductive health care services without permission from their parents. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is part of this school-based health clinic thing. And more astounding than that is, insurance companies of the parents are required to pay for these services rendered to the parent's child without the parent being told that the services were rendered, or that the insurance company is being billed and must pay. Now, what kind of nonsense is that? Mm-hmm. You know, common sense is just out the door, and we've held up the chart. I thought about bringing it, but my poor chart, my wife says the chart's so beat up it can't be seen in public anymore. Yeah. You know, I've carried it around the valley so many times, but here we are at the bottom of the list, and I told the group that Sunday that I thought we should maybe even be a notch below the bottom. Yeah. Because not only are we not regulating abortion whatsoever, we're making it easier for children to get involved, for Planned Parenthood to get in there. You had said it once, and I thought it was just a perfect point, is we legislated deceit with respect to these insurance companies. Mm-hmm. They are having to be deceitful intentionally, legislatively. They're obligated to, in this whole abortion healthcare thing. The power that the abortion industry has is phenomenal. I mean, it truly is a powerful, powerful lobby. Having said all that, the church has the power. The church is obligated by 2 Chronicles, if my people who are called by my name, I don't see how you can get around that. We are the one. Why should we expect the world to be involved in this? Mm-hmm. They're you know, what I call Joe Sixpack. I've talked about Joe Sixpack many times. You know, he just wants to be left alone. Right. Doesn't affect me. Leave me alone. I personally, I oppose abortion, but I certainly am not going to impose my views on anyone else. And I think the church has bought into that. and I'm painting with a broad brush, Perry. My pastor, Pastor Bull out at Eagle Point, I don't even begin, because we have 20 or 30 churches that we send these things out to that welcome the pro-life message with open arms and are willing to preach on the pro-life message to a congregation in spite of the risks, which there are many, to the pastor, to the offering plate, to the individuals sitting in the pews that are trying to deal or haven't been willing to deal with this issue, because we know that the church is virtually as complicit in abortion as the unsaved world. It's shameful, it's reality. I'm a testimony to that. I myself have been involved in it. If we don't get off our duffs and get involved in this and open the Bible and say, if my people, that's me. I'm a professing believer in Jesus Christ, and I'm being told to do this. Proverbs 31:8, be a voice for those who cannot speak for themselves. Where else does that apply? Wow. That is just so perfect. It's so perfect. It's time for the church to reignite their passion and their spirit, to open up the scriptures, to be convicted, and to get involved. That's why we moved the venue from the Jackson County Justice Building to the sanctuary at First Baptist Church. I'm not going to say we're no longer interested in reaching the lost with the pro-life message. That's not the case at all. Right. But if the church can't get it right, why would we expect the unsaved world to be involved?
Well, you got to go to the base, and the base is the church. And you're saying 700,000 evangelical Christians in the state of Oregon. If 1/7 of that shows up, we're there. We're there.
We're there.
And so I would say that I've come to this conclusion, and Bryan, you and I have been in the trenches for many years together politically. I've come to this conclusion. All the problems in the United States would cease and begin to go in the right direction if we got this one right. I really believe that the pro-life issue is the #1 issue in the world, the #1 issue in America. We are not even outraged when Christians' heads are being cut off, because we become immune to killing people in an innocent position, the unborn. We've been so immune of killing a baby that it's nothing to watch somebody get their head cut off, and we're outraged for a few moments, and then that outrage goes away. So the whole spirit of killing, open killing in the world is very much in the forefront, because we didn't get it right with the innocent. If we want to stop all this nonsense and get ahead of terrorism and everything else, let's get these babies saved in the womb. And I can't help but think of all of creation, there's only one that was created in the likeness and image of God, and that's human life. And if we don't start there, then we're going to continue down this road of man trying to solve man's problems. This is the one thing that the church can stand up against, united, and say, stop the killing of innocent babies. Once we put the value back on human life at that level, I believe all of our other world problems will begin to turn around. But until we get this one right, and for churches who say this is politics and turn their head on it, the only thing I can say is that I'm going to step back. You're on your own. And I would hope that wouldn't be the case. So pastors, I plead with you. If you don't want to talk about it in your pulpits, invite Bryan and I. We'll come talk about it. The least of which, allow somebody in your church to be the point person to gather signatures for this. And we can stop it in one election cycle.
We can stop it in one election cycle, and it's about as rock solid legally as we have the ability as citizenry to make it if we work with this petition. Yeah. But let's start by cleansing ourselves and getting, we say striving, I strain forward. Paul wrote, in Philippians, I strain forward. I'm not looking at the past. I just think that's so important for us, because we're tied in knots over guilt. We're tied in knots about whether we were involved in abortion or whether we've been inactive, and we just have said that's somebody else's fight. And I can accept that everyone has a season in their Christian life where there's time or there's opportunity for them. I can accept that not everyone wants to be engaged at some level that requires hours and hours of time. I have no problem with any of those things. But to simply walk past a table where there are petition sheets and go, oh, I'm late for lunch. Whoosh, go past, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, folks, this is a clarion call to all believers to get this one right, and this is our opportunity to do it. Start with coming to the service Thursday night. If you're in Southern Oregon, come to the service. And Thursday night will be at the First Baptist Church at 7 o'clock. If you're outside the immediate Southern Oregon area, I'm sure your county is doing something in recognition of Roe versus Wade. So find out what that is and support it. Bryan, thank you. And I know between now and July, you're going to be on a lot. You're going to be giving us an update what to do with that, and be looking for the petitions. They'll be probably coming out sometime around the 1st of March after they get through all of that. Would you be a person who would volunteer to be the point person in your church? And if so, if the Lord's tugging your heart to do that, go talk to your pastor and get it done. Thanks, buddy. How people get a hold of you if they want more information on all of this?
541-821-4773 or JacksonCountyProLife.org.
All right, that's his cell phone number. You're a gutsy guy. Okay, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back.